We should be saying, you guys, it's not one person, right? So thanks everybody for coming out. I just want to start by acknowledging that we're on the stolen territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish people, and thank them so much for taking care of this land for millennia for us. I just wanted to say two main things today. The first is I've decided to try for the Cope nomination for City Council. And the nominating meeting is tomorrow at 2, and I hope you can all come. And the second is that one of the main reasons I want to get on council is to try and end homelessness. Really, really end it this time, and here's how. So last year I ran for City Council in the by-election, and our campaign called for a mansion tax on the value of mansions over $5 million, partly because of our campaign the province brought in this new progressive property tax. But that money just goes into general revenue, it doesn't go for housing. And no level of government actually has a plan to end homelessness. None. So thousands of people are now homeless because basically there is no housing for them. And as we all know, homeless people have about half the life expectancy as other people. And we just should be declaring a housing state of emergency in Vancouver. Yeah. So as part of that, we're calling on the province to give the city the power to implement its own progressive property tax, just like the province has a progressive income tax. With a mansion tax, we could get enough money to build modular housing and virtually end homelessness in a year. That's over 2,000 units. So why are we having this launch at the Crescent in Shaughnessy? So everyone can see with their own eyes how much wealth there is. There's 15 mansions on in this circle here. They're all worth over $10 million. With a mansion tax on just these 15 mansions surrounding this nice little park, we could get 54 homeless people off the street in safe, secure, temporary modular housing. In 1 year. So we're proposing, like we did last year, that we tax the value of mansions over $5 million by an extra 1% and over $10 million by an extra 2%, and use that money to house virtually every homeless person. So we know that some mansion owners don't like this idea. That's why we brought this giant box of Kleenex for them. They have a few more options than a homeless person on the street or a working family with no inheritance. And in the end, policies like these increase the happiness of everyone. Studies show that in countries with more equality, virtually everyone, including the rich, live longer. And we all know, of course, that homelessness costs a lot. It costs more to keep people on the street than it does to put them in good housing, about $20,000 per person per year.
Shame.
And another good part of the mansion tax is that after we get homeless people off the street, we could start building beautiful, secure, non-market housing for renters who have to leave the city now because they can't afford the rent. The city says that there's about 20,000 renters who are renter households who are paying more than half their income in rent. So the market's not going to solve these problems, folks. Governments can hand out incentive after incentive to developers, and they will never build enough housing for people who are earning about under $50,000 because there's no profit in it. So we have to take the profit out of housing, just like we took the profit out of health care. The city can build non-market housing with the land it owns, the zoning powers it has, and access to cheap public financing, and the mansion tax can ensure city-owned housing is affordable to all. So that's our plan. Some cynics say it can't be done. We shouldn't call for what people need. It's true. that the last city council said they'd end homelessness and they didn't. It's kind of a crime because it is a crime because people are dying of homelessness, and it makes people cynical about politics, makes them think it's not possible to save lives and to have a just city. But one thing is for sure, I keep remembering this from when I worked at the Downtown Eastside Residents Association in the 70s. We never worked on homelessness, and do you know why? I've said this before. There was hardly any. So I know it's possible to end homelessness because there have been times when we didn't have it. Yes. So this campaign is about a positive message. We can drastically cut down on homelessness. We can build thousands of units of safe, secure, non-market housing for people who can't afford to live in Vancouver anymore. The status quo in the market will never do this for us, but if we build a movement, we can do it. Yeah. So if I'm elected, I'm going to fight fiercely with all of you and with renters and homeless people to get this tax and to solve the housing problems. And now I want to say a few words about why I'm running for COPE this time. So last year in the by-election, I ran as an independent, but I was endorsed by COPE. Thank you, COPE. We worked with COPE in the by-election, and they were great, and they have really good policies. And a few weeks ago, we launched the City We Need platform that calls for fighting for the things we need in the city, and COPE has included most of these in their platform. And COPE has a history of fighting for working people and tenants, and I ran with COPE 30 years ago, and it really seems to me that Vancouver needs COPE to make a comeback. With the establishment parties falling apart, this is the perfect time for our alternative. So there's another reason that I'm really excited about working with COPE, and that's because they've attracted some really good candidates, like Anne, who just spoke. She was actually elected. A few years ago, she was on council, and she fought against developers and casinos corrupting City Hall, and she blocked Walmart, and she fought for social housing and transit. And she's seeking a COPE nomination, and it would be great to have her at City Hall. I think it'd be fantastic. And we have Derek O'Keefe, who's been fighting for tenants and fighting against developers, and he's running. Yes. And Wes DJ, Métis PhD candidate in physiology and ecology, is also running for the COPE nomination. I'm also really excited about Diana. There she is, running for school board. She ran last time and she came close, and I think she's going to make it over that hump this time. Yeah. She's going to be a fierce fighter for Indigenous kids and all kids, and she was so close to winning, and I think she has a great chance to become the first Indigenous woman on the Vancouver School Board. And also running with Diana is Barb Parrott, one of Vancouver's most well-respected teacher union organizers. And so that's a great team. So with these candidates and all you fantastic volunteers, we can go out into the streets, knock on the doors, share our platform, and if we work hard, we can actually get the city we need. And that city includes winning a rent freeze where landlords can't raise rents 4% every year, and where they can't raise rents as much as they like between tenancies. It includes a city where we use city powers to stop rent evictions in their tracks right now. It includes restoring Indigenous land and working with Indigenous nations for housing land trusts and to get that Aboriginal Healing and Wellness Centre in the Downtown East Side. It means finally getting a ward system so you don't need big money to get elected. It means ending the criminalization of poverty and homelessness and transferring some of that money saved into services that people really need. It means stopping Trudeau's pipeline in its tracks and really doing our part to stop global warming. It means restoring Chinatown to the working people and the elders who live there. It means saving small businesses with a progressive business tax and working for a business rent control. And means implementing a real sanctuary city where people without documents aren't reported to border security by any city employees. So that's what we're going for, guys. Thanks so much, and girls, for coming out. I hope everyone can come to the COPE meeting. It's 2 o'clock tomorrow at 1440 West 12th in the Anglican Church. And then we'll keep working to use City Council to help us build a movement to get the city we need.
Yes.
Is that yours?
Oh, no, yeah. And you can do the